Hey, what's going on, Game Weepers? This is Eggs, and in today's video, we're going to be going through patch 12.20 and the changes that are allegedly going to hit the Rift for next patch. So to know what these are going to be, make sure you stick around for the whole video. There are certainly some interesting ones in here, and also make sure, guys, if you want to master any of the champions, not only that we mentioned in this video, but on the Rift itself, then make sure you check out the Game Weep website in the description and comment section. Our Challenger players and coaches from around the world are uploading daily videos for our subscribers. We're talking champion courses and guides, VOD analyses where we break down what the best in the world do that you can easily do as well in your games. So get that exclusive access by signing up, and let's get into the changes. So first of all, let's talk about the champions who are getting buffed in 12.20. Now we have 3 champions in the top lane. The first of these being Jayce. So when you're in your hammer form and each time you auto attack, you're going to be restoring more mana. This is nice for Jayce because mana is a big part of your kit. During the laning phase to be a lane bully, you can't really do it without your abilities. So restoring 4 more mana on each auto attack, this is certainly going to translate into a bit more laning phase strength. Also, your bonus armor and magic resistor going up when you switch weapons in terms of scaling off your bonus attack damage. So this means that as you start getting more attack damage throughout a game, when you do switch forms, you're going to be tankier and harder to kill. This, to be honest, will probably be the biggest buff, and this is really going to help you in the side lane in the late game, because when you are switching forms quite a lot, you're just going to be tankier, especially if you jump into a few enemy champions, you'll be able to soak up a lot of their initial damage. So these are nice buffs for Jayce. Now the second top laner getting buffed, this is Gwen. So your Q damage per snip, the actual base damage is going up the more points you have in your Q. So it's going up by 4 at rank 5, so at level 9. And the final snip damage is also going up by 20 at level 9 or 5 points in your Q. Now Gwen, your Q is a really big part of your kit, and because of the true damage nerf to your Q recently, well, it really set Gwen back. So these buffs are kind of necessary. Now they're not the biggest buffs in the world, but they will definitely help you out a little bit, and thankfully it's not like a massive buff where Gwen is suddenly going to get picked and banned. So these look pretty good, and Riot can always buff this a little bit more if she's still weak. And the final top laner, guys, getting buffed, this is Wukong. So your ultimate's AD ratio per cast is going up by 55%. Now this is big because of course you'll be building attack damage on Wukong, and for your ultimate to have more damage in it, because you have 2 of them, this is going to be really big, especially in the late game, because you'll have a lot of attack damage at that point. You'll be one-shotting swishy champions and dealing still a lot of damage to those tanky champions. Now elsewhere on the Rift, we have 2 junglers getting buffed. The first of these is Evelynn. So your Q's marked bonus damage is increasing by 5 at each rank. So this just means that when you launch your dart at that target and you mark them, the bonus damage with your next Qs, that's going to deal more damage, and because your Q, you'll be maxing this first, this is kind of big. Also, your W's charm duration is increasing in the later stages of a game by 1/4 of a second. So this means when you charm your opponent, they're obviously going to be charmed for longer, and if they don't have Mercury treads, you will 100% kill them, because at that stage in a game as well, when your W is maxed, you will deal so much damage because of all the ability power you have and magic penetration. Now the second jungler getting buffed is Rammus, and honestly these buffs for Rammus, they might even be the biggest in this patch. I'm not really sure why Rammus is getting buffed like this, because he is performing very well, and that's in the majority of healers as well. So the buffs are as follows. So your W sells slow. So when you use your W, you actually slow yourself. This is getting removed. This is huge. Also, your ultimate speed, this is just going to scale more of your original movement speed, so by 5%. So both of these buffs for a champion who, well, movement speed and mobility is really important to gap close to enemy champions, and to also just be mobile to get in range to taunt enemy champions. I just think these buffs, they're probably not justified, and a lot of other champions probably could have benefited from getting buffed instead. So those are the buffs, guys, for 12.20. Let me know in the comments what you think of these, especially the Rammus one. Now, as far as the nerfs go, we have 3 champions, and guess what? These are all top laners. So first of all, we have Aatrox. Oh my goodness, he's getting nerfed, but is he really getting nerfed that much? So your passive, right, where you heal based off the damage you deal, instead of healing for 100% of the damage dealt, it's now 80%. Now, to be honest, the reason why Aatrox is so broken is because of the sweet spot damage in your Q, and probably as well your low cooldowns, especially your Q. Once you get Gore Drinker now, because Eclipse got nerfed, the ability haste you have allows you to spam pretty much all of your abilities, and you don't even have to be good at the champion really. So yes, your passive, it does make your laning phase strong, right, and gives you a lot of sustain. But is this really going to bring Aatrox out of the top laners at the moment? I don't really think it will. Now Sett is another top laner getting nerfed, but to be honest, he's really getting nerfed for the mid lane, which is actually where he's kind of been dominating at the moment. So your magic resist is going down by 4, your base MR 32 to 28, and because in the mid lane, right, you're going to be playing against mages for the most part, this means Sett in the mid lane is just worse. Now in the top lane, this also affects you, right, if you're against AP champions. So champions like Mordekaiser, maybe Heimerdinger, Vladimir, these type of champions, Rumble as well. So it does affect both roles, but particularly mid lane Sett. Now also your passives regen, where you regen HP, this is getting nerfed in the early game, so again targeting your early game, so the base magic resist and this HP regen. But there is a little bit of a compensation buff here, because your right punch, which deals damage based on your bonus attack damage, this ratio based on your bonus attack damage is increasing by 5%. So the more attack damage you have, your right punch will deal more damage. This is obviously much more oriented around the mid to late game, which will help you out during that part of the game. But these are definitely nerfs to Sett. It will be interesting to see how he's affected not only in the mid lane, but also in the top lane in 12-20 if these go through. Now the final top laner getting nerfed this is Maokai, who has really been dominating like the whole of the worlds. He's picked all the time, and yes, he is a flex pick, but in the top lane, he's just so hard to beat, and it will be so relevant because he is a tank utility top laner. So what they're doing, they're nerfing your healing from your passive. So when you auto attack, when your passive is up, you're going to heal a bit less, kind of like Aatrox in a way. So it's scaling less off your max HP. This is important because you will be building HP, and this will affect you in the late game as well. But that's not all, because Ryder also nerfing your ultimate's cooldown at later ranks. Now it will still be 120 seconds at rank 1, so at level 6, and to be honest, I don't think this is really going to change that much, because as Maokai, you're probably only going to be using one ultimate like every couple of minutes in the late game, around barons and dragons and stuff like this. So I don't think this is really that important. I think maybe a better nerf here would have been nerfing the speed of your ultimate, because it travels at the speed of light, even at level 6 when you only have 1 point in it, and the range is kind of ridiculous as well. But these certainly are nerfs, and it will bring Maokai's win rate down, maybe a % if we're lucky. Now as far as adjustments go, there are 2 champions guys getting adjusted. So first of all, we have Blitzcrank, who is getting some massive adjustments here. So first of all, your passive shield, based off your max mana, instead of being a flat 30% of your mana, it's going to scale from 15% to 45%, scaling with champion level, of course. So this max mana you have, this is just going to give you a bigger shield in the late game and a smaller shield in the early game. Now, as far as your rocket grabs, damage goes, this is getting nerfed at later ranks. But still at level 1, this is dealing 105 base damage. So that's still insane, and this nerf won't really change that much. Now, as far as jungling on Blitzcrank goes, your W's monster damage, this is increasing the more points you have in your W. So maybe maxing your W a little earlier will reap a bit more reward. Now, as far as your E's damage goes, scaling off your total attack damage, well, it's going to scale less of your total attack damage now, going down by 25%. But your E's bonus monster damage is going to increase by 25%, again based off your total attack damage. And Riot also threw this in, where your E, monsters and minions are now occasionally sent to the moon when overkilled. That could be the best change I've ever seen. Now, the other champion getting adjusted, guys, for 12-20, this is Elise, and this won't take too long. So as far as your Q's cast range goes, so when you're in your human form, it's going down by 50, but it's going to hit the target based on the edge of that target's hitbox, no longer the center. So if you can just click on the edge of an enemy champion, you will be able to hit them. This will be a lot more important for those bigger targets, so tankier champions, of course, but this just sounds like a healthy change, and it might even increase Elise's win rate. We'll have to wait and see. Now, as far as the items go in the game, guys, we have 5 items getting changed. Now, 2 of these are getting buffed. So we have Mortal Reminder. So Mortal Reminder is getting buffed, so the number of auto attacks you need to actually trigger the Grievous Wounds passive, this is going down from 3 to 2. The other item getting buffed is Sterak's Gage, and I can't remember the last time I saw Sterak's build in a game, so for this to be buffed, well done to the Riot Balance team. So the bonus AD you get from Sterak's, this is scaling more of your base AD. So if you're a champion with high base AD like Alawi or Darius, especially in the mid to late game, you're going to get more bonus AD from the item. Now the shield amount you get as well, this is scaling more of your bonus HP. So again, any champion who has high base AD and is going to build HP as part of their kit, so again, Alawi, Darius, lots of other top laners, this just makes the item more viable. And the decay time of the shield, this is going up to 4.5 seconds, no longer 3.75 seconds. So these are some really big buffs to Sterak, and hopefully will make the item viable and actually bought, because I don't think anyone is building it at this moment in time. Now, as far as the nerfs go for items and runes as well, we have 2 of these. Now, the rune getting nerfed is Lethal Tempo. So if you're a ranged champion, you are not going to get as much range once you reach the max stacks of Lethal Tempo. So it's going from 75 to 50. This is obviously important for pretty much any AD carrying the game who is going Lethal Tempo. So the extra range, if you're playing maybe a Caitlyn, maybe a Jinx, a Phelios, any champion running Lethal Tempo, it's not going to be as oppressive and as ranged once you auto attack enemy champions 6 times. And the item getting nerfed for 12-20, this is Frozen Heart. So the cost of the item no longer going to be 2,500 gold, it's going to be 2,700, increasing by 200. But the armor is going to go up for this cost increase, so it's going from 80 to 90. But the rock solid base reduction in the passive is going from 7 to 5. So these are definitely nerfs for Frozen Heart, and it's being built a lot at the moment. If we think about maybe Jax, even supports might think about rushing this item. item into attack speed based comps, so these nerfs do seem legit. Now the final adjustment, guys, to the items, this is Demonic Embrace. So the HP is going down by 100 from 450 to 350, but the AP is going up by 15. Now I'm not sure in terms of the math here, because remember, Demonic's passive, where you're getting AP based off your bonus HP, I'm not sure if this is a buff or a nerf. Maybe it's just balanced and Riot have worked that one out, but more AP in the item makes it a little bit more interesting for champions who do just want AP, but it will still be built by those bruiser top laners, so Singe, Mordekaiser, and of course other champions, maybe like Shaco, maybe even some supports like Zyra. And as far as the range burn damage goes, this is actually going to deal less damage. This just looks like a nerf, but the item, it should still be fine. So those were the changes, guys, for 12.20. Any comments, any questions, leave them down below. And if you did enjoy this video, please remember to leave a like on the video. And until our next Season 12 upload, this has been a...